All right, so hi, I am Blaze, and welcome to the free introduction to the process. I'll describe what the process is in a minute, but before I do, I will tell you a little bit about myself. And when I was younger, when I was in my mid-20s, I was someone in great need of a process of transformation. Every facet of my life was not going well. And the easiest way to understand that is that I was sent to a treatment center for addiction. But every facet of my life was not going well. And when I learned that I could work on myself or discover myself, which are the same thing for me, I fell in love with it. And I realized that I was going to spend the rest of my life learning about consciousness and transformation. And what we're going to do today is just one facet of the process. The process is really essentially a focus on transformation. We are here with the thoughts and feelings and sensations that we have, the world that we have, the relationships that we have, and we want those to change. Or we're here with the state of consciousness that we have, and we want a better state of consciousness that feels cosmic or spacious or transcendent or whatever it is. And perhaps most likely, we want both. We want things to be different. And the question is, how can we honor our desire for change without being in resistance to what's happening now? If all our focus is on how we want things to be better, then we're not really accepting what's happening. But as it was for me when I was in treatment, it's not a solution to just not want things to be different. That's not a solution in and of itself. Because as a human being, I have a responsibility to change. It's a fact of life. There's no way around it. There's no way to just say, it doesn't matter how I behave or what I do with my life or the quality of my relationships. Because the drives that we have for all of the things that we want, whether it's consciousness or better relationships or healing, whatever it is that we're personally oriented to, those are deeper than a superficial mental preference. Those are deep drives at the core of our body energy, and they are to be engaged with. That's my experience. So, how do we engage with what we want without being in a constant state of resistance to what's happening? And how do we indulge these desires and drives that we have in a way that will work? And that, at least one element of that, is the focus of what I would like to share today. How can we be as productive and transformative as possible with as little resistance to how things are now as possible? That would be the ultimate. And that's what I would like to share with you. Oh, one more person coming, but this person's heard me say something like this before, so I don't want to have to repeat it. Hi, welcome. So I was just introducing myself and starting to talk about what the process is. So it's a popular and very tried and true method to tell people, spiritual people, not to be in resistance. Don't resist what's happening. Don't get mad at people. Don't think about the past. Don't worry about what's going to happen in the future. I think that our thoughts and feelings and sensations are all about that. That's their purpose. Their purpose is to care about the past and the present and the future. Their purpose is to think about what could happen and what has happened in the past, to feel, to respond or care about the things that are happening in your life, to be in pain when things aren't working well. I believe that our thoughts and feelings and sensations are all about being attached or having preferences or having something very specific that they want. Because if it wasn't that way, we wouldn't be able to orient in the world. If somebody brought me a menu that said, what would you like to have for lunch? And I just said, it doesn't matter. All food is the same. I have no preference. Well, then I wouldn't be really listening to my body. I wouldn't be listening to what it is that my body wants to eat. If someone says, what kind of car would you like to buy? And it says, it doesn't matter. And I have a family of 4 with a new puppy, and they give me a small, tiny little car. Well, then that won't work for my family. So I need preferences. I need to have drives. I need to be oriented to a better reality. What is preferential? What is optimal? I need this relationally. I need this in my work. I need this when I'm constructing my house or anything I'm doing, when I'm thinking about organizing this event. So I don't believe we're going to get, at least at the beginning, at least at this point, we're not going to get acceptance from our thoughts, feelings, or sensations. That's not their job. That's not what they're here to do. So I also believe that it is true that we are going to have to accept things as the way they are. So where are we going to get that from? Where are we going to get an acceptance from? Where are we going to get peace from if it's not mentally, emotionally, and in our body energy? And what I would like to show you today is that there is a source of acceptance, of peace, of allowing things to be as they are, which does not come from our thoughts, our feelings, or our sensations. And when we discover this, we get 2 things. One, we get to be at peace all the time, unconditionally so. And 2, we don't have to try to manipulate our thoughts, feelings, and sensations to being peaceful. We get to just unleash our human experience to be the opposite of controlled and manipulated, but free and wild and expressive. And that's how we transform our lives. It's not by trying to get our feelings to change or our thoughts to change or to be more peaceful. It's the opposite. So what I would like to do is show you this, is just show you my experience of this and go into it. So we are going to do that together in a fashion where I'm going to try not to talk too much about it. I would like your participation. And since there are 5 of you here, that your participation, if you're here, is going to be very vital to this process, discovery. Any questions before we begin, or as we are beginning? Okay. So what is this element of life, of ourself, that's not a thought, a feeling, or a sensation, where we are going to derive a sense of peace and well-being? We are going to direct ourselves to that now. And again, if you've never done this before, it may not make sense immediately, but stick with it. In fact, I would say if you do feel any confusion or fogginess or uncertainty, that probably means that we're going in the right direction. We're going somewhere where we haven't been before. So I'm going to take this moment and I'm going to dissect it into 5 things. I would say this moment is made out of the things that you see, the things that you hear, the things that you think, the emotions that you're having, and the body sensations that you're having. We also have taste and smell, but I leave those out for some reason. Technically speaking, that's also happening. So we'll call all of these 5 things streams of information: data, information, sense, perception, energy, whatever it is that you want to name it. And we are going to move from all of these different forms of energy or information to awareness. And you may or may not have considered that awareness is something that you can give your attention to. We're going to do that together. So we'll start one of these streams or channels of information at a time. So first I notice that I can see. And importantly, I can see things. I can see my lamps and the window and the rain that's falling outside. I can focus on the stuff that I'm seeing. And we're going to shift our focus. That's our method of discovering awareness. I notice that I can see these things. The reason that I can see them is because there's awareness. If there wasn't awareness, I wouldn't be able to see. So if a lamp looks like a lamp, raindrops look like raindrops, what does awareness look like? When you shift your focus to awareness, what happens to you? What do you notice? What do you become aware of? Anyone want to start the sharing by telling me what you notice?
Space.
Awareness looks or feels like space.
More space.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Say that again.
Yeah, more space. There's a sense of more space.
Right.
Not so, feeling a sense of just spaciousness.
Right. You're already going to where I'm going to. So when we focus on objects, we concentrate. So even with our eyes, physically, if I stare at something very specific, I have to shift my focus to concentrate on that. But just as you do with your hands, what happens to your eyes when you shift your focus to awareness?
They relax.
Wonderful. Right. I would say that the eyeball is like a focusing organ in your face. And when I shift to awareness, my eyeballs relax. I'm not concentrating. It's the absence of concentrating. To be in contact with the space is to relax. Wonderful. Anyone else before we move on to the next one? Anyone else have a similar or different experience to Stephen? Okay, we do the same thing with our hearing. Again, I take a moment to just notice the sounds that I can hear. I'd love to, if in this moment there was thunder, but there's not. There's raindrops and wind. Of course, my voice, if you're listening to me. And I do the same thing. I'm hearing sounds because there's awareness. There must be. So I shift my focus. What does awareness sound like? Raindrops sound like raindrops. What does awareness sound like? What do you hear? Anyone get a sense of that?
I've heard you talk about like that awareness is silence. But today the experience for me was almost the opposite, like it was just all sound in the universe that felt like silence, but it was all encompassing.
Right. And so for a moment, we just discard that I sometimes say it feels like silence. I think it's really important. You feel like you can hear an all-encompassing sound of the universe. What does that feel like?
Similar to the visual, just boundaryless, relaxing, really relaxing. Like you would think it would be thunderous and too much, but it isn't. It feels like silence.
Right. We'll get to what you talk about boundless but later, but it's very important to recognize it sounds like, feels like your hearing opens up. And because your hearing is open, it's not too much. And so often, Galen, you and I have had this conversation before, but people will notice one of two elements often when we do this exercise. They will notice the emptiness of the space where everything is happening, or they will notice more the fullness of all that is happening in that space. And as we've described with you, you tend to orient to the fullness of that space. Others might orient more to the emptiness of that space. Is one better than the other? No, not at all. But again, feels like you can hear everything. And
It feels to me like you can oscillate between the two,
yeah,
like it's empty, but it's full. I like both that seem to be true.
yes, absolutely. You can oscillate between the two. And Galen, if you chose to try and oscillate, you could ask yourself, where is everything happening? You just keep trying to refine. Yes, the whole sound of the universe is here, but where is that sound happening? What is the medium for that sound? It might take you to the other side of the coin. We do the same thing with our thinking. One of the main reasons people start meditating, from my memory and my experience, is because they have a lot of thoughts, or they have a stream of thoughts which they just can't seem to stop. And they hope that some kind of activity called meditation will help them stop thinking so that they get some relief. They can sleep at night and be more present in the present moment. So we do the same thing with our thoughts. I just take a moment to notice what I'm thinking, what my thoughts are. And to notice that I have thoughts means that I'm aware. I must be. So if my thoughts are as they are, these streams of mental energy, what does awareness feel like? Is awareness a thought, or is it more like the space where my thoughts are passing through? Again, let's see what it's like for you, and share if and when you're ready. I'll take your silence as a sign of what's happening for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I remain in a relaxed space and just, then the thought just seems to arise. But if I'm very caught in something, then it seems like it's like I'm generating off stuff, fear or whatever it is, but I'm sort of interacting with that intensity. But if I relax and just stay very relaxed and sit back, if you like, then the sense is the thought just arises.
Yeah, beautiful. So if you're on a train, you go wherever the train goes. As soon as you step off the train just feels like it's passing by or arising. That's just perspective or relative motion. So as you describe relaxing, suddenly we're not moving with the thoughts, we're not on board, we're just witness to the movement of thought, and it's just passing through like a train through a train station, and you don't have to get on.
Yeah.
So if we just take a moment, again, you've described it in other ways. Now that we're not getting on the train, we can look around and say, other than this train, what is here? What is this awareness that thoughts arise in? What qualities does it have? And it's open to everyone.
I would say it's accepting and non-judgmental.
Wonderful. And what a contrast, because thoughts are almost the opposite of that. Thoughts are the capacity to be judgmental. So here you have these two experiences simultaneous, an accepting, non-judgmental space, which can't think, can't be a thought. And then you have these judgmental or not so accepting thoughts passing through them. And in this moment, we don't have to stop either one of those things from happening. Meaning, I get to be accepting and to have the ability to think and be discriminating and judgmental at the same time. And we'll go into that more when we talk about the practice of this or the possibility of this. One more time, I change, two more times, I change channels of information. I just feel my body as a physical object. And my body has a clear boundary. There's an inside and an outside. And I notice I can feel the inside of my body. Or there is awareness on the inside of my body. That's why I can feel my heartbeat, my breathing, butterflies in my belly. And so I just take a moment to notice the sensations of my body. If my body feels like a body, what does awareness feel like? What qualities does it have? Does it have a boundary? Is it heavy? Does it radiate off sensations of pain, pleasure, hot, cold, and discomfort? Or is it different than that? Bye for now, Stephen. Anyone get a sense of that? Again, I feel my body. I notice the qualities it has. And the reason that I can feel my body is because I have awareness. What qualities does awareness have? Does awareness have a boundary like your body does? Can you find the outside of awareness? Can you find the place where awareness ends?
I've been quiet because it's really loud here. Sorry. But what I notice awareness within the limits of the body. Like it feels like, oh, I can feel the limits or the outline of the body. And I can feel awareness beyond. And then the limits of the body aren't noticed anymore. The body is all of awareness.
It's a very important, I don't know if it's essential to what we're doing today, but it's essential to the process in general, is that we can feel simultaneously like we are inside of our body, living from the inside and bound to that, but at the same time, unbound, not bound to the body, bigger than the body, expansive, boundless. And we get to have both experiences at the same time. And amazingly, those two things fit together perfectly. How is it possible that this boundless awareness can fit inside of our body? And it does. One channel left in our 5 channels, which is emotion. Inside of this body, I will notice how I feel emotionally. Now I am sad, I am angry, I am tired. And the angry, sad, or tired part, the emotional part, is really clear. It's emotional energy. We can feel it, we can recognize it, we can name it. But what about the I am? What is it that feels like I am? I would say awareness could also be described as the sense of I am. So when I am angry or sad or tired, we could translate by saying awareness is the space in which anger or sadness is moving. There is awareness and there is anger passing through it. Of course, it has to be passing through awareness if that's what you're experiencing. If you're experiencing anger or sadness or fear, there must be awareness. Otherwise, you wouldn't be aware of it. So just take a moment as you feel your emotions. See, I am. What resonates with the words I am? Anyone get a sense of that? If your emotions feel like emotions, what does awareness or I am feel like? Qualities does it have?
There's a neutrality and everythingness.
Neutrality. Makes perfect sense to me. So we have this emotion, which is like, again, the opposite of neutral. Emotion is the capacity to care and be affected, to feel. And then there's this awareness, which doesn't seem to be very affected by anything. And they fit perfectly together. My feelings get to be my feelings because awareness is totally okay with it. The space of awareness is not going to stop or react to any of the feelings that you have. So I take my experience in total. I'm seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling my body as sensations, and feeling the emotions inside my body. And I try and process or feel all of these things at the same time. They're all happening at the same time in one experience. And the reason that I can be aware of these 5 things is because wherever there is seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling, sensing, there's awareness. That's what makes your experience possible. If we take your experience of life, inner or outer, what makes it possible is awareness. And again, just see what qualities does this awareness have. Does it feel reactive or does it feel non-reactive? Go ahead, Laura, before I.
Spacious, quiet, welcome, responsive.
Wonderful. I'm going to add some words. Peaceful. Has nothing to gain or lose by what happens. Isn't preoccupied by the past. Isn't wanting this moment to be better. Isn't trying to get to the future. Now remember, at the beginning I said, we should not try and be any of those things. And the reason that we shouldn't try and be any of those things, I believe, mentally, emotionally, is because we already are those things in this subtle, overlooked quality of self. Who is it that is aware? I would say you are aware. These are qualities of you. So as much as I could say that awareness is non-reactive, not in the past or in the present, not in the future, in the past, whatever it is, always in the present, not afraid of anything, I can say that you are that. Does that feel and seem true, that that awareness and those qualities are qualities of you?
Yes. It just always, when I hear this and I have these little flickers of experiencing it, you know, they're getting more and more. As I just feel relief and joy. I think I've said this before, where it's like, I know you didn't mention love in terms of the quality of awareness, but that, and maybe it's a personality thing, kind of like, you know, hearing everything. But that's how I experience it. And I experience it as being loved exactly how I've always wanted to be.
I love the language that you use. So resonant. And my response would be to say, yes, it's true. In the fullness, I put the fullness over here before, I'll do it again. In the fullness, love is going to be a quality that I would say is true. It unifies everything. There becomes a one fullness, and love is the pervading quality of that oneness. In the empty quality of it, I would not use the word love. But that's personal to me. Other people might find that it does feel like love. But that's our own textural journey. We're really arguing over or splitting hairs. Does it feel like love, or does it feel like bliss? Does it feel like peace? Does it feel, let's say it can feel like all of those things, but however it is for you for now, that's really significant, that we can identify a quality of ourself which is beyond our thinking, our feeling, emotionally, our sensations, or any of the other qualities of body or mind that we can identify with. And we can learn to rest here. How do we do that? Well, lots of ways. The first is that we become familiar with this relaxation of focus. And just like I do visually, I stop looking at specific things. I'm not really doing something extra. What I'm really doing is I'm relaxing the contraction of my eyes. I just stop looking at my lamp. I just relax because it takes effort to contract. I just stop doing that. As soon as I stop doing that, my eyes are relaxed. This is kind of, you could say, a pathway of relaxation that I become more and more familiar with. And to access this pathway, I just say the word awareness. What does awareness feel like? To access it, I have to let go of my focus on this. I have to let go of the lamp with my concentration, with my contracted focus. As soon as I let go of the lamp, there it is. There's the bliss of self that always was. There it is. All I had to do was let go of my focus on the lamp. And so if you find this desirable, you can rest into this often as you want to. And we could try to schedule some kind of practice, which I did. You could meditate on it. You could make it into some sort of routine. But whether or not you do, the most powerful element is if you fall in love with it. If you just have to spend time with this part of yourself. If you are overtaken by curiosity and desire. And there's lots that we can do to stoke that curiosity and desire. So I'll pause before going on. We're at 45 minutes. There's lots more we could share and explore, but part of that's up to all of us and what we notice and what catches your attention.
I just catches my attention is the art of letting go. Yeah, just letting go, the art of letting go. I so appreciate that, spending more time in awareness and just loving that part, look like even just how we choose to orient. And I want to say that I'm really appreciative too of the emptiness or the fullness and feeling into the different aspects and how that gives just a different orientation for yeah, I can experience it both ways, and just playing with how that feels enlivening. So does Frankie.
The Art of Letting Go. That must be a title of a book. And there must be a book called The Art of Letting Go. Who knows if they'd say the same thing I'm saying, but my question for you, Liz, just before we finish is, if you contrast or pendulate, it's an important word, if you pendulate between the emptiness and fullness, what does the fullness feel like it's made out of? Again, there's one fullness. There's one experience. It's full. What's that fullness made out of?
Yeah, it's made out of it's made out of everything. But like today though, I felt it in terms of, instead of being overwhelmed, like, oh my God, there's so many people in the world. That's the voice that comes in. I really had this sense of like, oh yeah, all the people, like we're all just part of it, like part of awareness. So sometimes with even though that's not exactly what you're asking, the feeling of like the objects, like so many books in the world, or cars, or plants, or people, or just feeling into the multiplicity of and sometimes tuning to just one aspect of it makes it feel, I don't know, something.
I'm gonna hone in. That is not exactly an answer, but this is the part that I pick out. I would say that everything, does it feel fluid?
Yes, there's a fluidity. Yeah.
Very important. Very important, that quality. I'm going to write down the art of, make mental notes. I'm not actually going to write down art of letting go and fluidity, because there's another side of this coin. Yes, it's possible to relax into awareness, and there is an art to this pathway of learning to let go. And much of meditation is focused on repeating this, or deepening into it, or staying on this part of the equation. This is part of the equation. There's another part, and I'll share a little bit about that as we move on. I'll open it up to everyone else. Again, love these descriptions. Awareness has all these qualities, and it's also possible that you might notice that there is a fluid experience. I would call it energy that passes through our awareness. And Galen and I both feel a sense of love that pervades this flow of energy. So how is it for you? Moments go by and no one says anything. You might have thoughts about that. You might have feelings about it. You might wonder, who's going to speak next? Should I speak? Oh, I don't know if I want to say that. We just check in. How does awareness feel about these moments going by where nobody speaks?
Neutral.
Right. So when I was as I've been on my path of transformation, awareness was one of the most powerful things that I discovered, for all the qualities and reasons. And I'm very happy to share that with you. That in all of us, what makes our experience possible, and actually what feels most like our sense of self, is this experience of being aware. And we can all know ourselves as these qualities. Is this inherently transformative? Sort of. That's my answer. As I just ask right now, as we sit here, what effect is awareness and your connection to it having on your thoughts, feelings, and sensations? If awareness was music and you were listening to it in headphones, how would it affect you? For example, if I was listening to heavy metal music, it would amp me up. My whole body and nervous system would get amped up by the sound of the heavy metal. If we just put on awareness, what does that do to your body and mind?
There's an opening, softening, um, spaciousness, groundedness. There's a smoothing out, I guess, in the sense also smoothening,
Right.
than tightness or jaggedness.
Very important.
And
This awareness has an effect on all of the energy or experiences that we are having. It affects the direction of their movement. So this space of awareness has this impact on my body and mind. And the more that I am aware of awareness, the more it affects me. Or the smoothing out, opening happens. Like sitting in a pot of hot water. Or maybe a hot tub would be a better word. Not people don't sit in pots of hot water very often unless they're chicken or something like that. If you sit in a-
Lobster.
Lobster, that's right. The way of the lobster. If you sit in a hot tub or you sit in a sauna, the longer you stay in it, the more it affects you. It's like that with awareness. And that's what a lot of meditation is aimed at. It's about long-term exposure to these qualities, to this music. And you can imagine that if you got out of the hot tub at some point, you're carrying with you the heat that's been transferred to your body. So similarly, as we learn to stay in awareness, often meditatively, the impact is continuous, even if we sort of forget, or you could say contract into the details of our experience, the effect stays with us. This opening and smoothing out has gone with us wherever we go. So it's not necessary actually that we reside permanently here or we will lose the effects. Every moment that goes by, we are transformed. So in theory, we could just sit in this hot tub forever and it would just keep having an effect on us. And there was a time in my journey where I thought, wow, that must be what I do with this. I must just sit all the time. I must just pay no attention to what's happening in my life. That must be the way. Just completely relax about the details. I see a lamp. How does awareness feel about it? It doesn't care at all, does not care at all about this lamp, does not care at all about the rain. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. It's all equal. I, as awareness, have no preference over anything at all. But that's only half the experience. The other half is that I have thoughts, feelings, and sensations. And those are not designed to not care or to be neutral. If that's all that consciousness wanted to be, is neutral, then it wouldn't be you and I, and it wouldn't be here. So what are my thoughts and feelings and sensations for if they're not just here to be aware? Anyone have a sense of that as they sit here? Awareness is already doing this job of being peaceful. What am I supposed to do with my thoughts and feelings and sensations and all the things that I want, and the future that I want to build for my family, and what I'd like to see happen in the world? The forest fires and the hawk and the snake that are fighting outside, as Lara was sharing. What am I supposed to do with all that?
Consciousness is here to be expressed and celebrating itself, celebrating its experience.
Expression. And we just see. We just test that hypothesis. Does awareness have any resistance to thoughts, feelings, and sensations being expressed? It's almost the opposite. Awareness is here so that thoughts, feelings, and sensations can move and be expressed. Without awareness, they couldn't move. Awareness is what makes movement possible. It's like awareness is holding the door open to all of these energies and drives inside ourselves to move or to express. In other words, my thoughts, feelings, and sensations are here to transform my life and to transform the world. That's why they're here.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
And I think I've probably asked it in some form or another because I keep coming back to it, which is like, in this environment, I can feel that being really true and really healing and powerful for me. It's outside, out there, when I'm expressing from a place of being triggered that feels harming to myself and others. But in those moments, it feels like something needs to be expressed, but there's a certain responsibility I feel around it, and it gets very confusing because I can't, I don't know if I can't, but I'm not feeling awareness in those moments.
Exactly. And this is the problem. This is the problem that the process is designed to solve, that we're all, if you work with me and are involved, this is the very process that we're going to problem that we're going to solve. So a popular solution to this problem, once somebody has discovered awareness, is to actually spend less time in the world and more time just in awareness. That's a popular temporary solution. I say this is all just illusion. It's all meaningless. It doesn't matter much. I'm going to stay in awareness where it's easy. So I will spend more time meditating. I will use awareness as a way to describe and explain away my life. I will hide in awareness. But awareness isn't here for you to hide. Awareness is here so that you can move towards the very things that you're talking about. So what we do when we work together is we just bring these two worlds together. What if right now, Galen, you and I did and shared and felt all the things that happen to you when you're in the world, but we did it here while we're in awareness? Well, and we can feel it. What would happen? What would happen if we talked about, we just even felt the words that you say about going out into the world, but we did it here in this space of acceptance and ease?
My experience of that, and I'm using your language, full disclosure, is an integration that happens, an integration of an experience that maybe I couldn't integrate before. I wasn't safe enough to integrate. Yeah, and so I think I'm trying to be really patient with myself, but I do notice that even, as I, sorry about the background noise, it's got construction going on. So I can even be aware that I'm not being aware in those moments. So that's definitely progress, but.
Let's I love this example, and I appreciate your willingness to share. So we just take a moment and say, is awareness patient with your body and mind?
Absolutely.
Okay. So in this moment, we don't have to try to be patient. One less thing that we have to do on top of everything else. So where you were trying to be patient with yourself, what do you notice now?
I don't have to try. Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. I mean, if I can just be in that moment and just know that patience is already there, it's just in those moments, all that stuff flies away.
Right. And we can sit in here and bask in that, and that's really wonderful. But what's even better for me, what's even sweeter, is we can keep moving towards the things that you were trying to be patient about. Now that we're not trying to be patient, we have more bandwidth or capacity to actually feel and explore what are those things in yourself or in your life that you were trying to be patient about.
Rage.
Right. So we just notice there is awareness. How does awareness feel about your rage?
Neutral.
Right. And there is rage. We just, to the amount that we can in this forum, we allow ourselves to feel that there is rage. Our experiment is what happens if we just let those two things happen together. Can you get a sense of that?
Yeah. It feels like this unconditional acceptance.
And as I sit here and I feel this with you, and I won't press you, but we take out the trying to be patient, and there just is patient. And that means that we can add or really just feel rage. We're not trying to manipulate it anymore. We're not trying to get it to be something other than what it is. Now we can just look at it directly, and you can just feel it directly. And what that means is it starts to move. It's being listened to. What are our feelings for? I would say they're here to be listened to. They're for you to express and for me to listen to. That's why you have feelings. And so as we listen to this rage, I start to have a sense that you have lots to say. And I don't mean that you have lots of stories, but that you have lots of energy looking to be expressed. And I just become open to being a recipient. I am aware and I can receive and be accepting of this rage too, or whatever it's turned into. Instead of this rage being a block, something that's in the way of our happiness, what I would say, it's actually the vehicle of our happiness. But when we're trying to get rid of it, we're trying to be patient with it, we're not allowing it to do what it's supposed to do. You're angry about something. It must be important. And as we listen, we get the chance to know what that is.
Well, it's about respect or lack thereof. And I just don't know what to do with it out in the world. Like it feels completely possible. It makes complete sense right here. I just don't know. I don't know how to manage it when that energy is coming at me, that disrespect or demeaning or whatever, you know, and gaslighting, that whole thing. When that's coming, I just have no access. I have no access to awareness. I don't even have access to any skillful means of communication in those moments.
Right. We appreciate that you share all this. So when you receive, we're going really slow right now. So we slow life down. When you receive this, what you're calling gaslighting, what do you do? What happens to your emotions and your energy? How do you respond?
I start talking. I start trying to explain myself. I say, stop, listen to me. You know, I keep talking, thinking that they're going to hear me. And there's a part of me saying, just stop, Galen. You know, the other day we talked about, the rocks on the surface of the water, they're floating on the water. And then when I just drop and go deep, and then I'm realizing I'm all alone. All the other rocks are still up there. I just keep talking and I keep dropping deeper and deeper, and it's scarier and scarier. And there's nobody there, and not even awareness. I mean, of course it's there, but I'm not aware of it. And then I end up I'm angry, not just at this interaction, but at myself.
And we just pause and feel all of this. This is what happens. So in this moment, I just let awareness meet everything that you've said. Awareness is not trying to get out of this problem, this challenge that you had. It may feel emotionally and mentally and physically like a challenge, like a place where you're stuck, but awareness isn't stuck, which means that we can relax into it and just be stuck. And as I allow myself to do that, I become curious. I want to know more. I'm able to look deeper at what's happening for you. I use this capacity of awareness to want to be more aware. I become curious. And my curiosity goes to, how was your anger received when you were a child? And we just feel the answer. The rage in your body will tell us. We will respond.
It's hard for me to access that. It just feels dark.
Right. So we'll kind of leave this here for now. I'll not leave this here, but this is really important information. As I sit with you, I'm learning that the problem is not so much with your energy. The problem is that when you were very young, your energy was not allowed to relate, or it was not possible for this energy to relate. And so this energy has been stored all the way through your life until now. And so now when you're in the world, you get confused. You don't know how to express this part of yourself, and you have to go to other means to communicate with people. That's all confusing and complicated. So what we can do is we can ask ourselves, how much space is there in awareness? How much love is there in awareness for your rage?
That's what works for me.
Now we can complete the journey of what wanted to become. We can actually learn to express, to stay in our body and actually just feel and express the energy that we were born with. And when I can stay in my body and receive your energy, and you can stay in your body and feel your energy, we are now actually completing that journey. This is also part of the art of letting go. One half is relaxing into awareness, and the other half is finishing the sentences of all the things that our body has been trying to say, but we have stopped. We're letting go of the suppression or the freezing of our naturally expressive energy. I let it go. Once I express it, I don't need to be preoccupied with it. I'm not holding on to it. I'm not storing it. I'm not trying to manage it with a bunch of strategies. I have said what I needed to say. So again, awareness doesn't need to express itself. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't need to be heard, doesn't need to be seen. It doesn't have a mission to build a house or start a community center or be a teacher. It doesn't be a parent, doesn't have that kind of impulse, but my body does. And to let go or to relax, there's no way out of my mission. There's no way out of expressing my human potential. What I can do is I can use this part of myself that isn't stuck, can't be stuck, will never be stuck, to go into all the places where I have been stuck. And I can go so slow, and I can meet myself with all of these qualities of awareness that I can disassemble all the patterns that I have that actually block my expression, like trying to be patient or wishing I was different than I am, or wondering, when will I stop feeling anger? As I disassemble all these things, I realize my energy was born to express. And that's what transformation is. That's what healing is. That's what manifestation is. That's what transformation is. It's just the expression of what is actually true in my body, in my emotions, and in my subtle energy. And that's a kind of project. Just like my human life is a project, I am born as a toddler and I will hopefully die as an old man. And in between, I go and do a bunch of stuff. That's life. Awareness doesn't get to go and do a bunch of stuff unless I do, unless my body gets older and younger and craves, and that's the point of it. So this transformation is a process, it's a journey. And the opportunity is that through this journey that matters so much to me, that I feel the blockages as personal failings and pain, that creates a sense of either connection or disconnection, this journey where the stakes are so high for me, that at the same time that I undergo this journey, there's a part of me that's essential, that feels like I am, that has nothing to gain or lose by this. And what I support people to do is, rather than to rest in awareness, is to apply this awareness to their human life and their journey. It's also good if you rest in awareness. But my part of the equation is to help you apply. So I just pause. I mean, lots of times still, I just pause, and what I notice is that awareness is not moving. It's not trying to get anywhere. It doesn't prefer sounds or thoughts or feelings. And everything I'm aware of is moving. My thoughts are moving. My sensations are moving. The sound of Blaze's voice is moving. And we get to be both. We get movement, which is transformation. And we get stillness, rest, which is awareness. Life is designed for us to have both. And now we don't have to try and get stillness from our thoughts or feelings or sensations. So how does this all feel and sound to you?
It's a relief, a sense of wholeness, of not having to leave some aspects of ourselves behind. You can feel in some communities that are talking about awareness, there's sometimes the feeling is, go to the stillness, follow the light of stillness, and that's where you want to abide, and that's the whole story. And it's painful to hear that, because that doesn't feel true, doesn't resonate. And there's a little piece that fears, oh no, what if I'm doing it wrong? And then as we share, and as you name these, that it's this lovely, natural unfolding to get to be with our human challenges and allow them to express, that feels very freeing and full and whole and balanced.
And so we take this time to be in awareness together. We gather and share in its qualities and name them, and that's beautiful. But the place in which we most need to be together is in our feelings and energies, in our bodies. And my reading of human history has been that has not been very available. So it's been very important that people discover awareness and have a way out of the historical impossibility of real connection. But the world is changing. The world is changing in many ways, even in terms of access to awareness. I have spoken to people who have been on meditation retreats for decades, and what they tell me is the whole attitude of spirituality 30, 40 years ago was 1 in 100, 1 in 10, I don't know what it is, would discover these qualities and be able to feel as awareness is. And they would have to be tremendously devoted to their spiritual practice to discover these qualities. If they weren't hardcore seekers, they probably would never notice what awareness feels like. But I speak to people all the time who that's not true for. I speak to people all the time who can name its qualities very easily because consciousness is changing, or at least our access to it is changing. And the easier it gets to be in awareness, the less special we become when we discover it. And the more important it is to relate. And the more available it becomes to actually be met in that relating, which means the more attractive it is to actually take on the journey of being a human, which is a relational or expressive journey. So as we get easier access to awareness, we build more support around the expressive process. Anyone else?
I'll just share since I haven't said anything yet. I appreciate hearing you, and I'm kind of just, this is all new for me to hear your process and
Mhm.
kind of how you're exposing or whatever it is. I don't know how to say this, like, just your method of helping people to open up to awareness, and so I'm letting it wash over me. And as I'm listening, I'm trying to stay, I guess, with the awareness of like just being in a more neutral place, because there's a part of me that goes into, oh, that sounds like this, or oh, this sounds like this, or that doesn't make sense to me at all, or like going through all these things, which I know is just part of the human process. And I've had moments where I feel like I can connect in with awareness, or there's just a moment where all of a sudden I feel like it just, the energy, I don't even know how to put it into words, but like just the energy sort of shifts, and it's just like there is that sort of neutrality, and everything seems to take on a different quality. And then so anyway, so yeah, I'm listening. I appreciate you talking and sharing and hearing everyone else share. And yeah.
Glad you tell me all of that. And as you do this with your hands, I feel that the same thing happens to me. And this is an introductory event. I said I was going to focus on awareness, but I can't help myself. I actually can't just say half the story. I really, really want to, on some level, because for many people, if we just stayed there, that'd be lots. If you've never considered this before, or you come in and out of contact with awareness, there's really no need for me to go on and on about all these other things. But I actually can't help myself. I can't stop from expressing all the color of the fact that I care into this and going on and on. What is often very helpful is to do simpler things, such as meditate. And the offering that I have that supports this is I've created a series of free meditation recordings, which don't go on about your sort of divine purpose, relationship, or manifestation, or anything like that. And those are free and can be accessed anytime. And so whether it's you, Shelley, or anyone listening, I would encourage you to listen to those and see if that is helpful or if pleasurable. And there's lots of teachers who teach about awareness, who give lots of their focus to the qualities of awareness. And I think that that's very helpful. So there are many places to practice relaxing more into awareness. And what I've witnessed with people progressively is the experience of relating or to our body and our emotions. What we do is what we pendulate, or we shift our focus dynamically back and forth between the experience of being aware and the experience of our body. You describe it as coming in and out. And I think that's actually really healthy and natural. I think it's almost consistently going to be the case, that we will move between the details of life, our thoughts and feelings and sensations, and we will be open. And what I've found is that even though I don't keep it very simple with people, that we do pendulate, and this movement makes awareness more accessible as well. That we don't have to just stay in awareness in some sort of perpetual focus or relaxation. So that's a bunch of stuff that I said. Is anything else you want to respond with before carry on?
No. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like it's almost like a new kind of vocabulary. And then it's interesting to try to access it through the vocabulary, because I feel like that kind of puts me into my head, like I'm trying to do something. And then it kind of gets all like, whoa, because that gets in the way of, and then I'm like, I can't do it. Or, it's, but I'm sure I'm not alone.
Do you have any of your own vocabulary that arises for you? If you were to summarize your experience, or what feels essential to you, use your own words.
I don't even know if there are words for it. It's like,
That sounds pretty good.
I mean, so much more just an experience. Yeah, it's like a whole other level, but I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah, I'll reflect back to you. It's very hard to describe what we're doing. It's very experiential. There's no real words that describe this.
Mhm.
And I'm happy to meet you there. That's your expression of it. It feels good when I take your words in.
Yeah. Mhm. Well, thank you.
My pleasure. Anyone else? Okay, I think I would like to finish with pendulation. Think about a pendulum. Pendulum moves between two positions, back and forth, back and forth. Yoga is like this. Or when someone does yoga, you do forward bends and then back bends, and then forward bends and then back bends. And it's actually this rhythm or movement between the two poles, or different areas of the body, that actually creates the openness in the body. So going back and forth. So we're going to do that as a shift in focus, as I have presented in the process meditations, which you can find hosted for free on my website. So I'm going to close my eyes, and I invite you to do the same and just listen to my words. So take a breath. And I start by using this wonderful ability I have to concentrate. I concentrate on my head. It's very easy for me to find my head. And when I concentrate on my head, I get closer to the details of what is happening here in my body. I can notice how I feel here. And it takes some moments to really feel, to experience this part of me. And at some point, I feel this natural urge to relax my focus. And the way that I do that is I say, my head is just something that I'm aware of. And I shift my focus to the experience of being aware. I do the same thing with my chest and back. How do I feel here? With my concentration, I peer inside my body and I check it out. My sensations and emotions, movement of my breath, heartbeat. By concentrating, I get access to all these details. And then again, at a certain point, I feel very connected to these details. And I can relax. My chest and back, my breath and heartbeat, it's all just something that I'm aware of. And I shift my focus to the experience of being aware. It's important to notice that when we do this, our chest and back and our head don't go away. We're still connected to all those details. But as we relax about them, they relax too. My head relaxes, my chest relaxes. Because there's all this space. No contraction holding my head or my chest into a small space. And I become curious, how do I feel in my belly and my lower back? I concentrate on the area inside my body. I listen for sensations and emotions. The reason I can feel all of this is because I'm aware. I ask myself, how does awareness feel? And as I feel awareness, I can also feel my belly and lower back. These two aspects of myself are overlaid. They exist together. Everything that I've discovered in my belly and lower back now lives in awareness with all its qualities. Become aware of my sacrum and tailbone, front of my pelvis, and where I'm sitting in my chair. And I just feel, how do I feel inside my body here? And again, I shift my focus to awareness. The reason that I can feel my pelvis is because there's awareness. And then I feel my legs and my feet. I just scan through them, just see what I notice, see what you notice. And when I say scan through them, what I really mean is there is awareness inside your legs, feeling you from the inside. And what qualities does this awareness have? I want to take a moment just to feel my whole body all together. I just notice how this exercise, all this pendulation has affected me. I just see how I feel physically, emotionally, my mental experiences. And this whole body is just something that I'm aware of. I shift my focus to awareness. Thank you all for attending and participating, and if you're watching after, for listening. I'll send a link with the recording and some other links as well. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Blaze.
Thank you.